legal election.
All right, thanks for coming through. Thanks for coming
Let
through.
me respond to that.
Yes.
I am aware from the 2015 elections, which is the most recent
General election.
general and regional elections, that ballot boxes were stuffed on the East Coast and in South Georgetown. And if you look at the data for those areas, you will see the effects or impacts of stuffing. If I am to put on my partisan hat, I went along with former President Ramatar and others protesting outside the office of then chairman of GECOM Search Valley in Kingston in respect of the counting, requesting the recounting of certain ballot boxes. And so this idea that you can't rig an election is fallacious. Most or perhaps all of the recent elections have been nibbled away in terms of electoral support, I think, for the PPP because of stuffing of ballot boxes. We have situations where the scrutineers would sit there, are either threatened or terrified to the point not to respond to what is going on. Persons who are upstanding presiding officers, appointed as presiding officers, upstanding community leaders in areas. They're either school teachers, headmistresses, headmasters, priests, and other religious persons have been part of this problem. And those places are known. And the overall question as to whether or not an election can be rigged should reside in our understanding of what is happening in the Ganga Prasad petition, which has not been heard since 2015. Why is it, one needs to ask? There is no appetite, no interest to have this matter dealt with in the courts, because the revelations would be astonishing, and perhaps it will turn the results of those elections.
Good evening. Hello, good evening. I think we get that one there. All right, so we have just about 10 minutes or so to go. We're going to take a few more calls, but again, we want to remind you that you have just tomorrow remaining from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. to visit the GECOM office in your area. To either, if you move from one area to another, then you go to the registration office in your area to ensure that you effect a transfer so that you can vote in the area that you're living. Don't rely on the fact that, okay, I will travel to where I voted the last time to vote in this election. There can be issues that may prevent you from traveling, so I encourage you to go down to the GECOM office. You have from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. tomorrow, just tomorrow, remaining to go and to ensure that you effect those transfers and so forth, so that you can vote in the elections on March 2nd. So I encourage all of you to ensure that you go down to the registration office in your area. Also, those of you who are not yet registered, I want to encourage you to please go down to the registration office in your area and get registered. You have only tomorrow. And when I say not yet registered, those of you who have not registered in the last continuous registration exercise, or to make it simpler, those of you who have not been registered prior to the November 18, 2018 local government elections. If you have not been registered anytime then you need to go and get yourself registered. If you're not on the blue list or the PLE, the preliminary list of electors, then you need to make a claim to get on the list if it means that you have to register, or you have to show that you were on the list and somehow you're off the list, whatever the process is, you ensure you get that done tomorrow. Persons who want to make changes to their particulars, whether the incorrect spelling on your name, whether you want to change your name because you're now married, whatever it is, you have just tomorrow to get that done. This is the only way This is the only opportunity for those persons who are not registered and those persons who are off the list, for you to get onto the list. And for those who have moved, tomorrow is your final opportunity to ensure that you are able to vote in the area in which you live. Mr. Ben?
Yes, well, whatever decision people make, one wants to have elections which are free and fair and transparent, and to use a word which has been becoming popular recently, and credible elections in Guyana, carried out by the Guyana Elections Commission, its secretariat, its employees and temporary employees particularly too, and supported by all those agencies who have a role in playing for the elections.
All right, we're going to take probably 2 or 3 more calls before we wrap things up here. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Hi, good evening, sir.
I hope you all participating for the PVP, right?
Say again?
Yeah. You all are participating for the PVP, right?
Yes.
No, we want people to be registered.
Yeah, but
If you're asking us if we are from the PPP, what exactly? Go ahead, question.
No, that's the thing you are. You all don't know. The people who sacrifice for you all, they don't care about them. People only vote for you because what? You are PVP and we are PVP. But when you go in there, you forget about them. Forget about them. You don't learn, you forget about, what a bird in the hand is what to in the bush. You forget about that. That is your motto.
All right,
You don't know what a bird in the hand is what to in the bush. You forget about that.
All right, thanks for coming through.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay.
And I'm confused as to what exactly.
Well, I think he's suggesting that that if you get into power, you forget about the persons
who put you into
put
power?
you into power. That has been a criticism. As far as I'm aware, and this is putting on my partisan hat and being a minister in the past government, one of the difficulties we have is the demands to meet the needs of all communities, of all Guyanese persons. Unlike some other Caribbean countries, Guyana is very large, and we have to satisfy the needs of all the communities all over the country. And I don't think that people appreciate this problem. So if you, at my experience, if you do a role in one community of whatever color or stripe, the community next door is unhappy. Not that a road wouldn't come or some facility wouldn't come to benefit them at some time, but everybody wants the same benefits or benefits all at the same time. It's not possible. It's simply not possible. And so that leads to the perhaps simplistic criticism that, oh yes, we did vote for you, but you didn't come and do the road by we. You did it some other place or so on. But the prioritization of the facilities of communities relate to certain fundamental issues. The roads gotta go where the food crops gotta come out. Roads have to go where the public services are, where the schools, the churches, the temples, the masjids, the health centers are. Those are the priority areas. And then sometimes it doesn't match with what people might think is their preferred political positions. But it couldn't be done any other way. If the people as a whole and everyone benefits from those services. But I want to say a fundamental thing again, repeat. Our country is very large. These other countries, the Barbados and the Jamaicans and all those people, don't have to build sea defenses. They don't have to dig drains and canals to drain the country. They don't have as large an aerial extent as we have in Guyana. They don't have to take roads all the way to these communities and provide them with the same services that every Guyanese should expect at the same level. So I think for a reasoned approach to the matter, we have to consider that, consider the funds that are available, press the persons who we elect to get things done, but appreciate the difficulty, the character of our country too, the fact that we have a low population and by itself a low tax base to respond to all of these issues. But I think on the balance, and this is speaking with the bias of being a PPP civic person and being in that government, is that we have done quite well given the resources we have, and we've been dedicated at doing those things. Of course, there have been a few mistakes and maybe a bit of inattention sometimes, but I don't think we've ever reached the state we are in now.
And importantly, to Mr. Ben, is that, and when you hear these criticisms, one of the things that you can take away from it is the fact that the PPP has never been a government, whenever in government, has been a government for only its supporters or one set of people. So what if you
execute for
all the people, and you execute projects based on, like you said, priorities. So maybe a PPP area that voted solidly for PPP may not need a road as critical as another area. And that is what a government for all the people will do, will ensure that it prioritizes projects and do them, execute them in areas where they're most needed, regardless of people's political views. We can't say the same for the current government, but I can tell you that the PPP has always been a government for every single Guyanese. So some PPP supporters may feel a little that, you didn't really come to my community and do this road as you did in the next community, which is not necessarily supportive of the PPP.
But I think we have to develop the understanding and the patience to wait as things develop and we build on the things that we've done before to move on to the other issues, so that we'll get to everybody at some point in time. But it could not be that we can do
everything
one time, all the time in one budget cycle.
I think we have to wrap things up here. I just want to quickly, before we go, to say to you that you have just tomorrow, you have from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. to go down to the GECOM registration office in your area to ensure that if you're not yet registered and if you're not on the PLE, to make a claim to get onto the PLE. If it's by way of registration or to question why your name has been removed, whatever the process is, you need to get that done. If you move from one area to another, and I keep reminding you of this, it is important that you go and apply, go through the process for a transfer so that you can vote on elections day in the area where you live. If there are mistakes, spelling errors with your names, etc., you can go and correct that kind of information. You have just tomorrow remaining between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. You must ensure that you get this done, because on March 2nd, that is when your vote will be counted. Don't take anything for granted. Also, please go down tomorrow and check, those of you who haven't checked the list as yet, or go online and check the list to ensure that your name is on the list. You have just about 11 hours tomorrow, a total of 11 hours to get all of this done. So you have to check, ensure your name is on the list. If it's not there, then you must visit the GECOM office to ensure that you get onto that list. Mr. Ben, quick, in 30 seconds, let me wrap things up.
Well, just to say that I want those persons, those eligible electors who go to the registration offices tomorrow and find that their names are not on the preliminary list of electors, they must insist that they make a claim and they record the date and times that they were there at the registration offices, and that insist that you be treated politely and that your issue will be is dealt fairly with, so that we can have a situation that each and every person who is eligible and who wants to can be registered to exercise their right, the franchise, come elections day, irrespective of who you want to vote for. We all have our biases, but irrespective of who you want to vote for, go and get registered, consider the issues nationally and otherwise in respect of our development, and make your choice. But As an eligible elector, you have the right to go and insist that your name be placed on the list via claim or an objection for removal or whatever in respect of the elections and getting on the list.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ben, for being here, and we want to thank you very much for being part of this program for the last 90 minutes or so. We're going to continue to do this to keep you informed and updated as to what is happening as we head straight into the general and regional elections on March 2nd, 2020. Until next time, on behalf of all of us here, including the technical teams at NTN Studios, Mr. Ben and myself, we want to say thank you very much and have a good rest of the evening. And remember to check the voters list to ensure your name is on that list.
Thank you.